So with the recent boom in booster box prices from the Sword and Shield era, caused by many of the boxes being sold out in Pokemon Center, it begs the question, what's going to be the next booster box to sell out similar to the sets Fusion Strike and Lost Origin? We're going to be getting into that today in this video, where I'm going to be showing you the set that I believe is going to be the next one to boom, along with talking about some of the singles in that set and why I think they're a strong set in general. As we see the Sword and Shield Alt Arts drop in price pretty significantly lately, we again see evidence of just how much of a powerful investment vehicle booster boxes are, especially since lately the Sword and Shield booster boxes haven't really dropped in price in coordination with the Alt Arts. We'll be starting off this video by comparing the booster box prices of Lost Origin and Fusion Strike and comparing how they behaved before they jumped up to the set Silver Tempest, which is a set I believe is going to be the next one to jump. We'll be looking at some indicators on TCG Player along with how they were affected by the Pokemon Center booster boxes availability and compare just how much they jumped right after the Pokemon Center booster boxes sold out. Now before we get into why I think Silver Tempest is going to be the next Sword and Shield era set to boom, I want to go ahead and do another giveaway. Today I'm going to be giving away the Stellar Galvantula SAR, which comes straight out of the set Stellar Miracle that just released in Japan. This will be part of our Stellar Crown set in September. If you'd like a chance to win this card, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like the video, and comment down below what your favorite Pokemon is of all time. Now without further ado, let's go ahead and hop over and talk about Fusion Strike and Lost Origin and how they reacted before they boomed as a set. So the first set that I'd like to talk about is Fusion Strike, as the booster box prices have gone up in the last 6 months significantly, and in the last year alone is already up 60%. Now for those who don't know, Pokemon Center sells their booster boxes for around $140 to $150 USD. For a pretty long period of time after the release of the set, the booster boxes are usually available for a lot lower than that, and it usually takes a long time before people start actually buying booster boxes from Pokemon Center because it takes a long time for the market price to really catch up to what their MSRP is. Now as the set gets older and older and the market price begins to go up, it begins to level off with what the Pokemon Center MSRP is, and people will start to buy them from Pokemon Center. When this happens, this is a pretty clear indicator that the booster boxes are starting to dry up in the market, and so people start turning to Pokemon Center to buy them from that $143 price. Now once the Pokemon Center booster boxes have completely sold out, this usually causes a very significant spike in price, as you can see here on the chart. If you go ahead and look in the last year, you will see that in August the booster boxes were around $147, which is pretty close to the $143 mark that Pokemon Center sells their booster boxes for. Now if you look ahead a few months, you'll see that right around February and March time frame, the booster box prices started to jump up, and within a few weeks it had spiked all the way up to $244. This is because the booster boxes sold out on Pokemon Center, and since this set has so many awesome chases like the Mew VMAX, of course the Gengar VMAX, the Mew V Alt Art, there's just so many strong cards in this set that people really want to chase, the booster box prices jumped up pretty significantly. Now you probably won't see the Fusion Strike booster box prices come down much, if at all, so we can probably expect that this new price is the baseline for now, and it's going to keep going up over time. Now let's go ahead and move over and talk about Lost Origin, as I believe the market trend compares very similar to Silver Tempest and tells a very similar story. So the reason that I like to talk about the Lost Origin booster boxes is because something very similar is happening here with Silver Tempest that had happened back when with Lost Origin, and that is with Lost Origin, before the Lost Origin booster boxes sold out on the Pokemon Center website, we actually saw the booster box prices became more expensive than the ones available for sale on the Pokemon Center. Now this is very strange because if you go on eBay or TCG Player and see people selling booster boxes for $165, $170, but you can just go over to Pokemon Center and get it for $143, you wonder what's happening here. It's kind of strange. Now this is exactly what happened with Lost Origin. On eBay people were selling them for I believe around $170 before Pokemon Center had even sold out of them. So people were literally selling booster boxes to people for $170, and if somebody bought it, they would just put in your address on Pokemon Center and send one to you through them. Now as wrong as this is the reality of Pokemon sometimes, and this is actually a trend that we're seeing right now on Silver Tempest. We'll talk about the prices of Silver Tempest in just a moment, but this is exactly what's happening here. Silver Tempest is selling for more on TCG Player and other sites than what you can get on Pokemon Center. If you look at the market price here of the Lost Origin booster boxes, you will see that a year ago it was selling for $129 a box, $130 a box, which is less than the MSRP available on Pokemon Center. You'll see that the prices started to rise, and I want to be clear, this is before the booster boxes had actually sold out on Pokemon Center. These booster boxes were selling for $170, $175, which is again around $30 more than what you can get on Pokemon Center. Then you can see the big clear jump when the Pokemon Center booster boxes sold out, which you'll see that they went up to $222, $223, and have since taken a tiny little dip. They went down to $188, but have since started a flat line here at around $206, $207. Now, as we started to see the booster box prices become more expensive on eBay and TCG Player and other sites like that, it was a clear indicator that people were starting to buy them up pretty readily, and also shows that people were just flipping Pokemon Center versions of the booster boxes and drying up the product that Pokemon Center had. This is likely what's happening with Silver Tempest as well, and I would not be surprised if we see Silver Tempest sell out very soon. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Silver Tempest booster boxes so I can show you what I'm talking about. So right off the bat on the chart, you can see that there is an upward trend going on with Silver Tempest. The booster boxes are starting to become more expensive, and we can already see that this is kind of detached from the singles prices that have been going on lately, as we just looked at Lost Origin and Fusion Strike, and while the alt arts like the Gengar V Max and the Mew V Max and the Giratina V Alt Art are starting to cool down in price, the booster boxes are still holding very, very strong. Now you'll see that I attached a screenshot from Pokemon Center showing that it is still in stock and for sale for around $143. Now you'll see that I attached a screenshot from the Pokemon Center website which shows that the Silver Tempest booster boxes are still in stock and selling for about $143, $144. But if you look at the chart here, you'll see that the market price on TCG Player is $165. And this is not being accounted for because of shipping prices or anything like that. This is just what the market price is now for Silver Tempest booster boxes. If you look at the last year, you'll see that it had a low of about $112. So just about a year ago, you could get the booster box for $112. The Silver Tempest ETBs were also very cheap. You could get them for like $27, $28. And now suddenly in this past 6 or so months, you're starting to see the booster box prices jump up pretty significantly. It looks like right about in April, you saw the booster boxes hit the Pokemon Center MSRP, but you'll see that soon after that, it jumped up very, very quickly, at which around the June timeframe, May-June timeframe, you saw it get to $160, $165 a box, and since then it's been kind of sitting around that price. Now, this is very similar to what is happening with the Lost Origin booster box like I talked about before, and so this is a key reason why I think that we're going to see this set boom very, very soon. As soon as the Pokemon Center booster boxes sell out on their website, this set is going to boom. Now, it may not have as many big chases like Fusion Strike or Lost Origin does, so I don't think it's going to be a $240 box like Fusion Strike is, but I could easily see this box jumping up to $190, $200 the day that Pokemon Center boxes sell out. Now to kind of go into a little bit more detail about it, I want to show you some of the biggest chases from Silver Tempest if you don't already know, just to kind of highlight some of the reasons that I think this is such a strong set and why I think the booster boxes will jump up in price. Now the first card that I would like to talk about is obviously the Lugia V Alt Art from Silver Tempest. This is the big chase from the set, and it's always been a very, very expensive card and just a very sought after card from the Sword and Shield era in general. If you look at the chart in just the past year, you'll see that the card had a low of around $114, which is I think where a lot of people were trying to buy it up at. But if you look recently, you'll see this big jump here, which is part of the alt art rise in price that we have seen in the past few months. You'll see that it rose up all the way to about $227, and just like with all the other alt arts, we're starting to see this drop. It's currently sitting at around $165, and I think it will continue to drop. Now, this card is arguably one of the best alt arts in the Sword and Shield era. This is just a fantastic card and really makes Silver Tempest a very sought after set, and it definitely helps that a lot of the collection boxes and mini tins that Pokemon sells had Lost Origin and Fusion Strike kind of as filler packs. So while it does kind of increase the amount of packs that are out there, it doesn't seem to have hurt the booster box prices too much, because if you look at Lost Origin, it's still a $200 box, even with that being true. So you're probably asking yourself, okay, we have the Lugia V Alt Art, what else is really in Silver Tempest that's worth collecting? And as far as alt arts go, I would argue that the Unown V is totally worth getting in the Silver Tempest set. Now, I'm kind of surprised here whenever I look at the price of this card. It's not a very expensive card at all. Currently, it's about $17.66, and this is after the big jump, the alt art rise. We saw that it had a low of about $12 to $13 in the last year. It rose up to around $21, and now it's currently sitting at that $17, $18 mark. Now, I personally have always loved the Unown cards. I think they're an awesome Pokemon, and just this card has so much contrast and it's just such a beautiful card. And given its rarity, it really doesn't make sense to me that it's currently a $17 card, as there are definitely far more worth alt arts in the set. I think this is a very underrated card, and if we give it a little time, people will start to appreciate it more. But just these two cards alone, in my opinion, really make for a fantastic set, the Lugia and the Unown alt art. And this is part of the reason why I say Silver Tempest, might not outcompete Lost Origin or Fusion Strike, where Fusion Strike has two very expensive cards, the Gengar and the Mew V Max, and Lost Origin has the Giratina V and the Aerodactyl V, so it has two pretty expensive cards. Silver Tempest really only has the big chase Lugia. There's not really anything over $50 other than the Lugia, which is currently sitting at $160. But I still think that the alt arts in this set are just absolutely fantastic and are going to make for a very collectible set down the road, especially for people who enjoy the older generation Pokemon, as this set really features some alt arts of those types of Pokemon. Now, another really cool alt art from the Silver Tempest set is the Regidrago alternate art, which also features a little cameo of Lugia. Silver Tempest in general really is a Lugia centered set. There's just so many cool Lugia cards with the Lugia V, the Lugia VStar, the Rainbow Lugia VStar, and then you also have this Regidrago alt art, which also happens to feature Lugia. But if you look at its market price, you'll see that it also has been impacted by this alt art rise. It also was a very inexpensive card pretty recently. Just in the past few months, it was an $11 card. It recently spiked up to about $24, and now it's currently sitting at around $21. Now, one thing I want to point out here, that Lost Origin and Fusion Strike, while the alt arts have really risen in price, they're probably going to stay pretty high because now the booster boxes are out of stock everywhere. I expect a very similar thing to happen when the booster boxes sell out in Pokemon Center for Silver Tempest, because as they sell out, the booster box prices will rise and less people will be inclined to open the booster boxes. Now, in my opinion, this isn't the strongest card in Lost Origin. It kind of has some matte colors, but similarly to the Lugia V, which also kind of has the same thing going on, it's still a cool card, and since the card features Lugia, I still think it'll be an expensive card long term. But let's go ahead and take a look at the last alternate art from Silver Tempest, which is a very inexpensive card. Now, the last alternate art is the Skuntank Alt Art from Silver Tempest. This card is actually only a $6 card, which is kind of crazy considering the Scarlet and Violet era only has a few special illustration rares that are that cheap, and they come out of Obsidian Flames, which really only are that cheap because the pull rates are so low. Silver Tempest still has the alt art pull rates. It's still about 1 in 100 chance of pulling an alternate art, so it's still kind of crazy that we're seeing sub $10 alt arts from Sword and Shield era. But for whatever reason, people don't really enjoy this card. I actually like this card more than the Regidrago personally, but if we look at the chart here, you'll see that in the past year it was about a $5 card. It had its little jump, but since it's a very inexpensive card, the jump doesn't seem that high. It only went up to about $7 or $8, and now it's currently sitting at $6.70. I think this is another strong card, especially people who enjoy the earlier gen Pokemon. But I'm not arguing that this is going to be the big chase. It's going to get people to start paying more money for the Silver Tempest booster boxes. I do think it's another strong card, though, that as people look back, they're going to realize some of the alternate cards from the set are just really, really cool. And it's going to help the overall sentiment towards the set when people look back. Now, the last card I'll like to talk about is the Lugia VStar. Now, I understand that the price of this card is definitely very dependent on the playability. This card is very playable and used in a lot of decks, which definitely contributes to the price. But I do think that this card will do well long term just because Lugia is such a popular Pokemon. Similar to the Charizard, the Rainbow Charizard V-Star from Brilliant Stars, which is currently like a $50-$60 card, which doesn't really have playability compared to the Lugia V-Star. And if you look at the market price, for some reason it's showing lightly played on TCG Player. In the last year, we'll see that in February it was around a $19 card. It's currently sitting at around $25 and it only had a peak of around $28, so it's only around down $3 from its peak in the past year. But this is a pretty strong card, I think, for those who enjoy Lugia as a legendary Pokemon. Now, like I talked about before, you have the Lugia Alt Art, the Regidrago, which features Lugia. There's also a regular Lugia V-Star version of this card, which I believe is around $9 or $10, and then the Rainbow version of this card, which is currently sitting at $25. Now, I understand why this might feel like all your eggs in one basket type situation, because a lot of the set kind of revolves around one particular Pokemon, but I do think Lugia in general has a lot of hype around it. I think people will enjoy this set long term because of that. And again, in general, when a booster box sells out on Pokemon Center, the booster box price is bound to rise regardless. Whether or not it's going to rise to $200 or $300 a box right off the bat, it kind of just depends on the set itself, and which is why I mainly believe this will be, you know, a $200 set, not a $300 set or anything crazy like that. But again, since the booster box prices are sitting at $165 right now in TCG Player, meanwhile you can go and buy them directly from Pokemon Center for $143, it's only a matter of time that the booster boxes will sell out on Pokemon Center. Let me know what your thoughts are on Silver Tempest. I'd be curious to see what you think about this set. I know plenty of people who have opened hundreds and hundreds of packs trying to pull the Lugia Alt Art, so I know there are people out there that really enjoy this set, but I'd be curious to see what the general sentiment around the Pokemon community is. Alright everybody, that's going to be it for today. If you haven't already entered the giveaway, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below what your favorite Pokemon is of all time, and let me know what you think about Silver Tempest in general. Is this a set that you really enjoy, or did you really enjoy some of the other Sword and Shield sets like Fusion Strike and Lost Origin? I'd be curious to know your thoughts down below. Alright everybody, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.